This is Part 3, Episode 202. Luo Feng left the cave and arrived at the surface of the snow. He walked slowly on the snow. Masters of the universe are the peak of the universe, Luo Feng said under his breath. However, not all the masters are equally powerful. The Castellan is top tier, second brother Flaming Emperor is mid tier, and big brother Put is low tier. Regardless, they were all awed by billions of clans in the universe. Nevertheless, Flaming Emperor doesn't possess a treasure like Star Tower, even though he has 2 treasures, while the treasures Put has might be inferior to those of Flaming Emperor. Star Power triggered the war between the top 4 clans. It's able to stand solid between stars in the battlefield outside the domain, consuming energies constantly, which led to 9 Whirlpool Nebulas, and the Whirlpool could easily tear a universe night apart. The most powerful treasure. Luo Feng nodded in silence. According to Zhuoshanku, when Luo Feng became a universe knight and collected the last piece of metal for 9 Calamity Tome, he would almost be able to operate the entire Star Tower, and if he managed to do that, he could have the authority to talk with Masters of the Universe equally. That means I will be the equal of the Masters of the Universe when I become Universe Knight, as long as I can operate the Sky Tower, Luo Feng thought. In this case, I must not waste this treasure, which is coveted by even the most powerful in the universe. The core of each element of the star map is a soul-controlling valuable. Tower pearls and ceiling stars were nothing compared to the Star Tower. It was incredibly powerful. The more Luo Feng thought about it, the more convinced he was that he had been right to follow the Spirit Reader path. Teacher said following both paths spelled failure to create the 7th move. Luo Feng shook his head. However, the Castellan also said before that no human could become a master of the universe following the path of Beast God. Maybe some individuals of the barbarian races managed to. Of course, they are but exceptions, mused Luo Feng. Exceptions can't represent anything. Maybe the teacher exaggerated a bit to convince me. Luo Feng walked step by step on the snow. Thoughts kept flooding his mind, which was affected by what the Castellan had said. Although Luo Feng stayed firm both in front of his teacher and himself, the Castellan was one of the 3 most powerful humans in the universe, and what he said could exert a huge impact on Luo Feng. That was why he needed to keep reminding himself of his motive in the first place. He was firm not only because he had faith in himself but also because Zhuoshanku was more powerful than the Castellan. Luo Feng wasn't blind. Without Zhuoshanku, he would ponder for quite a while because of what the Castellan said. A creature hid behind the ice tablets at the peak of an iceberg, staring at the void afar. That is. The blurry figure trembled and flew out, landing on the snowfield tens of millions of kilometers away. It was a metal creature with a metallic luster all over his body. His eyes were like rubies, and the body was stooping, like a cheetah trying to stand on 2 feet. He was staring at the footsteps on the snow. I've never seen footsteps like this. He examined them with his back bent, after which, he brightened. Is it the humans? If so, it's my lucky day. He took off along the overlook, noticing another footstep thousands of kilometers away. He teleported himself over and over again toward the footsteps, and after dozens of times of doing so, he spotted a shadow wandering on the snow. Each step he took was more than 1,000 kilometers long. Ha ha! It is the human! The metal creature was exhilarated. I'm the first one to find him, which means I don't need to live in fear anymore. He dove toward Luo Feng. Luo Feng made an abrupt turn and saw a creature flying toward him. Luo Feng saw the 2-meter-tall body covered with dimming gold and the ruby-like eyes. It's Metal Creator. Ranked 626. The powerful ones were killing each other in ice hell. Nobody would approach each other if they weren't close, just as the weaker ones wouldn't approach the top 10 limit emperors. If they did so, they brought death upon themselves. A guy ranked 626 dares to challenge me, Luo Feng said. He stretched his left arm and 52 black balls appeared. I'll test my second move on you. The second move was extraordinarily complicated. However, it was so powerful that the engravings needed 52 stars to carry. Countless golden threads connected the stars and 1,000-meter-long beast god appeared. The beast god was dense, the scales on it were distinct. The scale-covered tail was the sturdiest. The scales on other parts of the beast god seemed to be covered with dust, whereas those on the tail were spick and span. There was a mystical vibe of lore inside. The sense of its aggressiveness emanated. Millions of square kilometers of space were trembling because of the beast god. The combination of 52 stars, the powerful secret techniques, and the stronger conception of beast god after 2,000 years resulted in outrageously magnificent power. No. Metal K-Ator, who was originally overjoyed, was almost scared to death and teleported himself hundreds of thousands of kilometers afar, saying, "I mean you no harm, human. I come here in the name of Sky Wolf." Luo Feng stood on the snow with the aggressive beast god floating above. Luo Feng looked at the beast god with satisfaction. He exercised this move because he wanted to try it in a real battle, and it seemed that it would wield significant power. Sky Wolf. Luo Feng looked at the metal creature from afar, waved his hand, and the beast god disappeared. The 52 stars fell from the sky to his palms. The metal creature flew toward Luo Feng carefully and smiled with respect. He took out the tablet of ranking. "Mr. Human, please see for yourself." Ranking. Luo Feng skimmed the tablet and surveyed the ranking and the bounty Skywolf had offered to everyone in Ice Hell. Why is Skywolf so keen to find me after he promised not to kill me to the public? I'll go check. After thinking about it for a short while, Luo Feng decided to go. "Lead me there," Luo Feng said, looking at the metal creature. K-Ator was thrilled and said, "Mr. Human, how lucky I am to be the first one to meet you. I'll lead you to the palace of the Master of Southern Ice Hell now." He teleported himself with Luo Feng to Southern Ice Hell. Luo Feng looked at the palace from afar and the ice tablets with rankings around the palace. "Mr. Human, I don't dare to teleport inside, so let's just fly there," K-Ator said. "Let's go." Luo Feng nodded. 2 beams of light traveled toward the palace, and 2 of the servants were alerted. There were 7 servants around Skywolf's palace, 5 of them were brought by Skywolf from the outside. They dealt with minor duties, while the other 2 were in charge of guarding the palace. These 2 had been mentally controlled by Skywolf ever since being severely damaged by him. Who dares to trespass?" the servants of Emperor level shouted after seeing the lights. Isn't that?" They looked at them carefully. "Human. It's the human." They exchanged an eye contact after identifying the human whom their master had been dying to meet. "It's me who brought the human here," K-Ator said with a smile. "Lucky for you, K-Ator, you'll get the eternal protection of the master," one of the servants said. "Human, master has been waiting for you for more than 200 years. Come with me, both of you." The servant brought both of them into the palace. Luo Feng observed the surroundings and was able to see the giant beast sitting on the throne. It was Skywolf of the royal demon race. Skywolf looked enormous with its more than 10-kilometer body, whereas it was to the golden-horned beast like an ant to an elephant. "Human." Its eyes opened and overlooked him. "Skywolf." Luo Feng looked at Skywolf from afar and smiled. "Why are you looking for me so eagerly that you made such a promise to everyone in Ice Hell? Is there anything you want from me?" "Of course, there is." Skywolf looked to K-Ator, who was bowing with reverence. Skywolf said slowly, "You brought him here, K-Ator?" "Yes," K-Ator answered. "Okay," Skywolf said. "From now on, nobody will dare to touch you around your palace." "Yes?" "Thank you, Mr. Skywolf." K-Ator was so thrilled that his body was trembling. As someone ranked lower than 600, he was one of the weaker in Ice Hell and had to live in fear all the time, which was why he often went out to look for Luo Feng, knowing he could get Skywolf's protection. "Go?" Skywolf didn't want to talk much with K-Ator. K-Ator greeted Skywolf with veneration and bowed to Luo Feng with gratefulness before leaving the palace. Luo Feng couldn't help feeling for the weaker creatures in Ice Hell. Hong, long, long. The door was closed. "The door is closed, and only your servants are here." Luo Feng looked at Skywolf on the throne. "You can say what you want now." Skywolf overlooked Luo Feng from the throne while a trace of amusement flashed in its eyes. His voice was echoing in the entire palace. Human, you should have figured out that I ask you here because I want to buy the anonymous account sensor from you. And you should know how much I want to connect to the outer world after being detained here for such a long time. You're from the demon race, and I'm from the human race. Luo Feng said as he looked up at Skywolf. You should know that our races were hostile against each other and that the virtual universe will reject your consciousness. You can't enter the virtual universe even if you had the sensor. Souls and elements of consciousness were fundamentally different between races. The virtual universe belonged to humans. Lots of creatures from the demon race, the bug race, and the automation race wanted to use the virtual universe to convey their messages. However, the races deemed as enemies to humans couldn't connect to the virtual universe. Even the other barbarian races who were not hostile against humans would be restricted and monitored while using the virtual universe. Silver Eye, for example, was a special creature and would still be able to use the virtual universe, although he had limited access authority. I understand that, Skywolf said. He looked at Luo Feng. However, you should also know that my servants are able to do that. 2 of my servants are from the sister races of humans, and they are able to enter it. Where's your previous sensor? Luo Feng asked. These sneaky enemies of the barbarian races would try everything to utilize the humans' virtual universe, which was quite handy. Thus, they could usually acquire the sensor. Something went wrong, thus the access authority was taken away, Skywolf said. No wonder. Luo Feng grinned. The monitor was especially sensitive and determined, and no matter how they tried to conceal the fact that they were using human slaves or barbarian slaves from the Hong Alliance to connect to the virtual universe, their access authorities would be stripped right away once a clue was found. Meanwhile, the access authority of the sensor would be taken away. What was worse, it would use the coordinates to capture the phony. As a result, countless numbers of individuals belonging to the barbarian races had been captured and killed. However, the 5 peak races were still trying to establish intelligence networks through the virtual universe. I don't have the sensor, Luo Feng said, shaking his head. This lie may work on others, but my race has been fighting yours forever. Do you really think I'll buy that? Skywolf was gazing at Luo Feng. You can certainly make a sensor using the artificial intelligence you're carrying. The most important thing is the access authority. And you're more than qualified to apply for an anonymous account. Skywolf kept overlooking Luo Feng. Relax, he continued. I don't want to give you a hard time. You know that there is a plethora of intelligence systems for espionage built by the barbarian races. Although it's difficult to be detected, the destruction of an intelligence system spells huge losses. Regardless, there are still so many barbarian races trying to build one intelligence system after another. Skywolf stared at Luo Feng. It doesn't matter if I'm added, as there are so many of them, right? Skywolf gazed down at Luo Feng. There's no point hiding my intention because you can easily guess it, Skywolf said. Yes, I want out. Although I'm not sure whether the intelligence system is still there or not, I still want to take my chances. I want out. And you think I'll help a barbarian? Luo Feng said. Not help, but a deal, Skywolf said. The anonymous sensor is easy to get, so selling one to me is not a crime. Besides, you're not helping me send a message. Rather, the only thing you will do is to sell an account. Innumerable accounts are being sold throughout the human race every day, and some of them are purchased secretly by the barbarian race. Luo Feng stared right back at him. Skywolf was correct. It was commonplace to resell the accounts. I won't take it for granted, Skywolf said. I'm willing to trade it for 1 treasure. Treasure? Luo Feng lifted his eyebrow. How generous you are. Skywolf lifted its hoof, beside which appeared a black stone stick. On the 2 sides of it were beautiful sculptures, which made it look more like a piece of art than a weapon. However, the force it emanated filled the entire palace. 1 treasure for 1 anonymous sensor, said Skywolf. Skywolf watched Luo Feng. Yet Luo Feng was silent. You can have as many sensors as you want in the human world, Skywolf said. And you're only selling one sensor. Both of us are trapped in ice hell, and all I want is to leave. Besides, I am only at the Emperor level of undying. Me leaving is not a threat to you humans whatsoever. Emperor undying? Even Universe Knights weren't influential in the human race and the demon race. No? Luo Feng said, shaking his head. You're not selling the sensor, even for a treasure. Skywolf said. He stood up abruptly and sharply became aggressive. The 5 servants were glaring at Luo Feng. Luo Feng looked at Skywolf and kept shaking his head. No deal. It was not because Luo Feng was inflexible, selling one sensor was nothing. Besides, adventuring in the universe could sometimes prompt different races to cooperate under some special circumstances. Luo Feng didn't care about one sensor. What he really cared about was the price. 1 treasure? Not enough. 2. I'll give you the treasure I'm currently using. Skywolf growled and glared at Luo Feng. 2 treasures for 1 sensor, that is cheap on the outside. This is the greatest price I'll pay. Take it, human. Even if you're adventuring in a secret area of the universe, it's not easy to get 2 treasures. Luo Feng looked up at Skywolf and said mildly, no deal. No deal? Skywolf was startled. Don't you know these are both treasures? Do you even know how many treasures there are in Ice Hell? Even invincible emperors like me, or Silver Eye, have no more than 3. I'm keeping only the most important and most suitable one while giving the other 2 to you. How dare you? Skywolf roared. Don't you be so outrageous. I can use these 2 treasures to hire a Universe Knight to kill the most powerful of the human race. I'm not asking you to betray the human race, all I'm asking for is a sensor. I'll ask you one more time, will you sell the sensor? Luo Feng shook his head. No? Skywolf was infuriated. The entire palace was filled with belligerence. Skywolf vanished from its throne while Luo Feng opened his wings with 52 black balls around his hand. Howl! Skywolf appeared right at where Luo Feng had been with its hoofs bent. He stared at Luo Feng bellicosely. Luo Feng stood afar with 522 black balls floating around his hand and said, I thought you made a promise to all of Ice Hell that you wouldn't attempt to kill me. It depends, Skywolf said hoarsely with its teeth exposed. The 3 strange scars on his forehead were squirming. Goddamn human blocking my hope of getting out. Tell me now, I shouldn't kill you. That sounds about right, said Luo Feng. But you should know that if you do kill me, you'll never get the access authority to the sensor. Without the access authority, the sensor is useless to you. Luo Feng looked at the 52 black balls in his palms. Besides, you can't kill me. Even Silver Eye, who's proficient in time law, couldn't do that. Luo Feng stared at Skywolf. As for you, your edge is space law, but I'm faster than you. How are you going to kill me? Skywolf was as belligerent as one could be, but Luo Feng treated it with nonchalance. They looked at each other from afar. Okay, Skywolf said in a deep voice. I bet your status is pretty high, given your power, and it's much easier to get treasures on the outside. No wonder these 2 treasures can't attract you. Well, I'll trade the sensor for the most important treasure I have. Oh. Luo Feng was bewildered. Skywolf possessed something more valuable? These 2 treasures will not belong to you, but I'll give you this one instead, Skywolf said as he glared at Luo Feng. I acquired this treasure by chance. This is something worth fighting for, even between Universe Knights. I killed a weak barbarian and got this in Ice Hell. What is this mysterious treasure? Asked Luo Feng. Is it the invaluable? He grinned. I won't believe that. Of course not, said Skywolf. That would set the Universe Knights crazy. However, this one is much more precious than a treasure, though it can't compare with the invaluable. Skywolf slightly lifted its hoof, and a hexagonal stone tablet the size of a human palm came into sight. There was a beast roaring on the tablet. The sculpture of the beast on the tablet made Luo Feng's heart tremble. He had seen several kinds of peculiar beasts, like the one on the 9-universe primal chaos tablet and the beast god. However, the beast on this tablet stirred some special feelings inside Luo Feng. "What is this?" Luo Feng said, grinning. "This is merely an ordinary stone tablet. The only thing special about it is the shape and the sculpture." "You call this treasure?" "Just penetrate your will into it," said Skywolf, staring at Luo Feng. "Then you'll understand. This is the token of beast god inheritance from the most powerful ancestral god school. Of course, it is much more valuable. This video will end here.